Okay, what is up, everyone? I'm going to show you guys a couple things today, but right off the bat, anything I can help you guys with?
Hey, I had a quick question.
Yeah, go for it, Jacob.
And this is I'm still familiarizing myself with this, so I'm kind of new to this. But so I had one of my writers working with Rankability and had the content optimizer sending it as a link, and I don't know what the deal was. It looks like it's fixed now, but for some reason, like this whole week we were having issues where like it was not editable.
Yeah.
So like what I just did was I just sent my login info because I was like, I'm not really concerned about privacy or anything like that. I just gave them my own information, but it didn't seem like the link was working the way that I thought it would. Kind of like we were using Surfer before, and it was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if that was like an issue or if that was just maybe I missed something sending them the
No,
link.
no, it was a glitch. And
Okay.
I believe now it has been resolved. And you're talking about, so let me make sure here. I'm just talking about the right thing here. So you were talking about when you go to share a link, correct? So
Yeah.
like if you're going in here and you're sharing a link, you're
Yeah.
copying
Basically,
this.
I sent
Yeah.
that to them. Yeah. And then she was not able to like edit any of it. Like it would show up, but it had like a loading bar at the top. And she sent me like a screen recording because at first I thought that maybe there was a miscommunication sending the link.
Yeah.
I took a look at it this morning and it looks like it's working fine. Granted, there's like now a full article in there.
Okay.
But yeah, that was one thing that I was going back and forth with her for a little bit, and I just ended up giving her my login info because I was like, that's probably just easier to work this out.
Yes. Yeah. So it should be, I'm actually testing it with two different accounts right now. And yeah, it should be all good to go. So I'm pretty sure it's fixed now. So you can have an external writer be able to make these changes inside of here. And I'm talking purely in the context of like a shared link, that someone that does not have an account. So
Okay, perfect.
so yeah,
Yeah, that works great.
it should be working. But if there's ever an issue like that, just feel free to shoot me or Simon an email, and we'll jump on it.
Okay,
But
yeah, I just wanted
yeah,
to check. It's not a big deal, but I didn't know if that was like just a me thing or if that was like a
no,
glitch you
no,
guys had.
it was an us thing.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's working out some kinks, but I think hopefully we'll be able to resolve a lot of these. Hopefully they will come back. But yeah, so we're having the thing we're working on right now is like we have a lot of people using the tool, so there's just a lot of like resource load and things that we're trying to to handle. But I think over the next week or two, things are like a lot of little kind of like minor things will be pretty much eradicated. Um so yeah, how have you liked using it so far? You felt like it's been pretty smooth other than that particular issue?
Yeah, I personally think that it's been great so far. I think because we were using Surfer before, I mean, pretty much
Right.
everything from like the brief to the actual writing the content has been pretty much exactly the same thing as what's in the course. I've like modified a few things
Right.
because we need as much redundancy, but I feel like the thing that I'm liking so far, and I'm looking at it right now because I was working on a new article up until this call, is that
Yeah.
I feel like it gives a lot more like legit keywords where like with Surfer it was, and especially like when like it's like a long tail keyword. Surfer was always like a lot of like fragments where it would take like one or two words like as a combination, but
Yeah.
out of like a 3 or 4 word keyword, like no one's ever going to use like that, like those two words by themselves.
Yep.
I that's like one big thing that I've been noticing where like just the keyword it recommends is like a lot more legitimate, and I like that it also highlights them so I can see where they're all used. Because I think that's like one of the most helpful parts with writing content for me personally.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because we spend a lot of time on that particular thing. Like because when we what happens with these tools, like it captures everything, and you have to have a lot of filtering built in to basically get rid of all the junk and
That
only
makes
show the stuff that really matters. So that's why like with ours, it's like it I think obviously I'm very biased, but the recommendations are better. And like you mentioned. So um and basically we just got rid of a lot of the kind of like singular word type of things that don't really matter. So is there anything that like you want to see in the tool, like anything that you like your wish list, like do you have like a wish list of things?
For me personally,
like full transparency, I don't think I've used it enough. Because I think I signed up for it like 2 weeks ago. And so
Yeah.
this is like I think the second article that I've had a writer do like from scratch, like new
Right,
article
right, right.
that I've used the tool for. So I am still familiarizing myself with it. I've been using it more for like upgrading content.
Right.
Um, so far, like I wouldn't say that I really have anything that I think is missing. I'm still just like learning how to use it and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not trying to say there's like a learning curve or anything because I feel like it's pretty similar to Surfer and pretty intuitive to use. But so far, I mean, I like it. I don't really have anything that
Okay.
I dislike about it or any feedback like that. I think
Yeah.
it's great so far.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, and if you're, as always, like as you use it, just take note if there's anything like that you want, like maybe something doesn't even exist that you're hoping it did, like as you go through. Because there's like certain things, like funny thing I was showing on the call yesterday, like if you look up a keyword like rankability review, for example, you're not going to get very good results because it's just not a lot of availability.
Yeah.
So I'm actually writing that exact page on my site right now. Like I'm targeting that keyword specifically. But there's like, there's small things as I go through the tool that we have in the pipeline that just isn't there right now. And so like one of the things is like having the intent filtering here, which is what we're going to be adding. So you're going to be able to actually filter by intent. Another thing is being able to Ahrefs does this really well. SEMrush does this really poorly, which is being able to filter the keywords based on the overall difficulty level, not just KD, but also the overall domain strength of what you're up against. So like you could be able to filter by like only show keywords where a domain strength is less than 300, right? So you could see all of the keywords where there's weak competitors in that SERP. So just small things like that that'll make a huge difference. So we're putting a lot of time into the keyword research tool as well. Like full transparency for you guys, when we built this initially, like all of our effort basically went into the optimizer. Like all of our effort, all of our resources went into that. And with the keyword research, um, was a like it needed to be there. Like it just needed to be a part of the process because it's a part of the SEO content creation thing. But then as we started to dig into it, we realized like we can probably build the best keyword research tool. Like because of my process, I can basically take the process that I built in the academy and just put it into this tool. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for is like if you've gone through the process in 2.0, which is like the SEO content dashboard and all that stuff, just imagine if we could do this basically automatically inside of this tool. That's the goal, right? That's what we're trying to do. So, but yeah, it takes time. So, but yeah, I appreciate that a lot, on the feedback. And as always, if you see anything, please let us know. We've got a whole list of things we're doing, but obviously, if we can add to the pipeline, we absolutely will. So we want this to be the best. So it's not that like this, that is a standard. So yeah.
Yeah, I personally think it's great. And I know that obviously like not every like new user you're gonna get for the app is like someone that's in the course, but I really like how pretty much the process, the way it's set up is like designed to basically match exactly what's in Expert 2.0, where it's like
Right.
where it's like it just makes it easy to like just do everything Nathan teaches, like from the brief to the writing and just like using the optimizer, like it all
Yeah.
matches. So that's something that
Right.
I personally like a lot about it.
Yeah. And that's honestly the goal of when I had this idea and Simon had this idea to build this is like, we just wanted to make the process of the system easier. Like that was basically it. Like, cause it's a lot of work. So if we can like, streamline at least some parts of it, that's going to be big. And then the next one that's coming up, which I don't know if you were on the last call for this, but the ranking diagnosis. So the goal is to be able to streamline like a lot of that. And like I've taken every single bullet point of that ranking diagnosis checklist and basically mapped out like, is it possible to automate some of this? I basically came to the conclusion that basically 50 to 60% of it can be fully automated in the tool. So if we can fully automate that, like selfishly, I'm building it for like myself because I don't want to have to ever do that again. So, like if we can do a lot of that, I think it would be really, really valuable. So that's in the pipeline too. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like how it feels like you're taking a lot of things that previously were like very separate, or like it was all spread across like multiple different Google Docs and sheets, and it like consolidating it. Because like at least
Right.
for me personally, like it's like, especially going through the course and stuff, like a lot of information, but sometimes just like overwhelming with like the
For
number
sure.
of documents and stuff like that
Yeah.
really, and I feel like this looks like this is like a combination of all the stuff that's taught, where like before it was different softwares for stuff like that. And if you guys add stuff to that, like I would love
Yep.
that. That makes it
Yeah.
all easier to access everything like in the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously we have long-term ambitions with this too. Like, yeah, right now it's more of a content creation type of tool, but like trust me, my mind is also on the link building side too, because there's just a lot there. So like even a small thing, like I'm building out the new part of the training for the link bait section and all the link acquisition. And like we really want to have an option here where you can basically go into a link bait tool. You can enter like you basically put in like let's say it's a St. Louis plumber. You enter your details, you start our tool, and we'll be able to spit out a bunch of link bait ideas based on the frameworks that I've built in the training. So instead of like having to like manually do that in ChatGPT and all this stuff, you'll be able to just go in here and like enter a couple things, and boom, you get a nice list of like different types of link bait that you can build.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, so just small things like that. But yeah, we're working on it. So yeah, like I said, let me know if you ever see anything. Okay, Jacob.
Yeah, sounds good. I appreciate it.
Okay, awesome. And Miles, good to see you. We're just kind of going over some feature related stuff. But I'm going to show you guys a couple of things here. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, anything you want to talk about, please interrupt me. Okay. One thing I want to show you is just like how impactful this can be. And this is sometimes I have a tendency when I'm going to optimize a particular asset. You know how people say like this is like my toxic trait. Well, my toxic trait when I see a keyword that's not ranking well is I just want to rebuild the whole thing from scratch. That's just my nature, and you don't always need to do that, right? You just don't need to do that every time. Sometimes you can take an asset that just isn't optimized super well and use Rankability to basically re-optimize it without having to basically build from ground zero again. Now, in this instance, I'm going to show you an example where I did rebuild from ground zero. Okay. So this keyword here, SEO training Houston, not super competitive, but it aligns well with what I do. This is the original asset. Okay. And it just did not do well. And you can see the performance gains here. Okay. It was sitting 97, sometimes drop out of the top 100. Like it just didn't do well for a long time, many, many months. It just didn't rank. It was all AI content. All right. And that was one problem, more than likely. It was all AI. And that probably was a part of the issue. The other issue is that it just really wasn't optimized that well either. Okay. So what I did is I went through the whole process with Rankability, built out the brief, and then sent it over to a writer and then had them rewrite that content from scratch and build it to this new version here. And obviously I went through and kind of optimized it to another level to take it up to a higher Rankability score. Now, in this situation, we talked about this last week, like the diminishing returns. Okay, so this was calling for about a 45 Rankability. All right. So optimal means like if you hit the 45, you're really just hitting kind of that baseline. You're right in the average. You're right in the range. Okay. That's not a bad thing. But now that I've been doing so much testing, I'm starting to find that the sweet spot is, and there's not an exact percentage just based on my estimates, is anywhere between 10 to 25 or to 10 to 20% above whatever the optimal is. Okay. So if it calls for a 45, maybe try to get to a 55 or a 65. Okay. Try to get up into that range, just a little bit above the average. Because at a certain point, like if I took this to like, let's say I took this to like a 90 and then I wanted to go to 100, like once I get to probably like a 75, the law of diminishing returns will kick in, right? So I probably won't see much better results going up to 100. Now, it probably won't hurt you. It's not like you're probably going to get penalized for that unless you're just keyword stuffing. But if it's a good piece of content, it's unique, it's original, you're probably not going to, it's not going to hurt to get there, but it just might not be necessary at the end of the day. And so I would just aim to try to get to like anywhere between 10 to 20% above the optimal. Okay. And if you can see the outcome of this, like these rankings, I did this, refresh this page, republish, same URL, didn't change the URL. All I did was republish with the optimized content. Within a couple of days, number 7, now it's number 4. Okay. No link building, nothing else, just pure NLP optimization, like single variable type of test here. I'm just using the NLP to improve performance. Okay. So this works, right? It works. And there's a lot of quantifiable proof. Now, if we look at this, you'll see the competitors, and obviously this is now different because, but you'll see like the top competitors out about a 48. So if we go over here, and I think I was at a 40 or a 66. So I'm technically ahead now on them. So at this point, this is where things get interesting because now I'm sitting number 4. So it's like, okay, what do I do to get to number 1? Right. And that's why just doing NLP is not the only thing that we have to do. Like this is one variable that's really, really important. And clearly it's very important because it took me from a 97 to a number 4. So it's a very big factor here, but it's not the only factor. So when I start to see some stabilization, or let's call it stagnation, I start to think about, okay, what's kind of like the next thing I can do to this page to elevate it. Now, honestly, at this point, it's still too early for me to start really hitting it with other variables because it sat at 7 for like a few weeks and then it hit number 4. So now I want to see how long is it going to stick at number 4. Okay. If it stays at number 4 for like, let's say a month and a half, then now I'm going to start looking at different things that I can do. Of course, I could go right back in here and I could do another re-optimization and elevate the NLP one more time. Like I said, I don't know if that would be super impactful. What I'd rather do, though, is actually go into Gotcha SEO, and I would start looking for some opportunities to build some internal coverage to that page. Okay, so I would go to my posts and I would see like, is there any opportunity where I've talked about Houston specifically? Okay, and I have, right? I have this SEO jobs page for Houston, and I have this SEO companies page in Houston. So right away, I've got 2 pages where I could build some internal link coverage to that asset. Okay. And what that can do is just build more relevance, build more, and kind of send the page rank and link equity to that asset. And it also forces Google to recrawl again, right? And that's what we want. So that would be my next move, is do that. If that doesn't move the needle, then I'm going to start thinking about, okay, can I build any supporting content to ultimately build more topic support for this concept? Now, it gets a little tough when you start doing really granular keywords like this, like SEO training Houston. There's not going to be a whole lot of things that I can really start to do on that front, just because there's not a lot of availability of topic ideas in Houston specifically. So what I would probably more lean on at this point, if that doesn't get me to where I need to go, is I'm probably just going to drive links directly to the asset. So drive some backlinks directly there. I might look for some Houston opportunities. So, I might go into like, go into Logenics, for example, and start seeing if there's any opportunities in Logenics to see if there's any Houston related opportunities in here. Okay. And funny thing is, it's not even necessarily because I'm going to buy them from Logenics. It's just to see like, are there opportunities? And like, you could go direct if you wanted, right? So what I've done here now, I see, okay, we've got at least 3 here that it's kind of quantifiably proven that they do sell links. So, do what you want with that information. If you don't want to deal with having to build a relationship and all that stuff, then you could just obviously pay for it. But then it becomes a discussion of the ROI. Okay. And for a low volume keyword, I don't know if paying $2,300 would generate an ROI that I would be satisfied with. Like I might be better off just paying $2,300 for ads in Houston, right? Like So this is where you got to kind of start to use your better judgment. But this is just my thought process that I go through. And, when you're thinking about relevance on the link front, especially on the local level, I do prefer to begin on the city level, like see if I can find some city related opportunities. And then once that's kind of tapped out, then I'll move more into kind of like the broader topic type of opportunities. So I might go into now looking into like specifically SEO based opportunities. So I might just, like look up specifically SEO and see what I can find. Okay. This one here, like expert SEO training, like very, very topically relevant for me. So that might be a situation where I would potentially consider doing that one. Right. So this is just the thought process. But it all begins and ends with getting this right. You have to get this right because then at least you can sleep at night knowing that you have a page that's properly optimized, it's properly relevant. And now you just need to start pulling on the different levers. But the most important thing, which I think a lot of people just don't do, is just be patient. Like you got to let Google understand what's going on, because this stuff just takes time. Like it may take Google a little bit of time, even on the internal link front, right? You may add these couple of internal links here, and it may not move the needle over the course of a couple of days. But if you gave it enough time, that might have been all you needed to go to that number one spot. So you just basically want to avoid like over investing in a particular keyword, because that happens a lot. You overinvest, you overkill it when you didn't need to, right? And so then that hurts your profitability on the campaign and all that stuff. So just kind of a reworking of the process here. All right. So that's it. Wanted to show you that. And I'll keep showing you guys different examples, doing a lot of testing. The one thing I'll say too is a situation where NLP optimization like won't be enough to help you is in a situation where you have very little topic authority. Okay. This is one where like you could build a perfectly optimized page. But if you just don't have the supporting type of content built around it, you're not going to really, you probably will not hit that number one spot until you narrow those topic gaps. Okay. So in the case of Gotcha SEO, like I have so much topic relevance just for the topic of SEO that any keyword that has SEO in it, I basically do really, really well. Right. Like just because I have that topic relevance, I even have domain level relevance. Like I've got a lot of good things going. But if I write something that is not, it does not typically perform that great. Okay. So like one of them I have another example in here that I've been testing and just keep reworking this page over and over. And the reason I keep reworking is I'm trying to see if I can possibly rank a keyword where I don't have topic authority. Okay. And I'll show you this one here. This is one that has been optimized quite a few times. I've tested countless different content angles with this one. And you'll see, I think I ranked somewhere over here. Yeah, like I'm on the first page, but at the end of the day, this is not a good ranking because I'm way too low to be able to get substantial traffic. Okay. And I've tested so many angles with this one. I've made it longer. I've made it shorter. I've tested pushing the summary up higher on the page. Like I've done basically everything that I'm out of bullets at this point on this one. Okay. So the only thing that's left on this is I know I'd have to drive backlinks. That's the only way. The other thing is if I really cared about this, which I really don't care about ranking for this, but it's more of just to see if that's possible. The next step, like let's say I did care about it. The next step would be, okay, let's see, have I ever written about book summaries on gotchaseo.com? And when I go and look at that, I can easily just go right into, go into the site and look, Gotcha SEO, and then you do plus whatever that kind of core thing is. And I've written a few book reviews, like specifically about my book, and I have like best SEO books, but clearly I'm not an authority on book summaries. Okay. Like that, I'm just not. Now, if you take someone else, for example, like this one here, 4-minute books, like you don't even need to go to their website to know that it's topically relevant. Like you just, it's without even going, it's relevant. This one, quick read. Once again, read and book are very closely associated. So the topic relevance is clear right out of the gate. Okay. And I've been seeing this more and more. Google just loves to show really, really topically strong websites. That's really becoming, and it's getting to the point where, like, if you even try to rank for something that's outside of the topic relevance that you've built on that site, it's almost becoming impossible. And so you know, to a certain extent, you do have to kind of stay in your lane on your website to kind of stick to that core topic. Now, with that said, you know, I rank for a lot of like YouTube related keywords, and I think, you know, Jacob brought this up yesterday. But that's because I've built a lot of content around YouTube, right? So like if we look at this, you'll see I have a lot of content that's going after YouTube. Like it's not a small amount. So I have some levels of topic relevance where I can, you know, start to see some performance gains from that. Okay. So this is the first place to begin, is like, do I have enough topic relevance? And this goes back to the ranking diagnosis and all that stuff, but do I have enough topic authority to rank for this? And that's a good place to start, because if you don't, you can certainly try to prop it up with backlinks. And I'm not saying you couldn't, but it may be short-lived if you don't narrow this really important gap. Okay. All right. Let me show you a couple other things here. Any questions, guys? Any questions for me on that? Anything at all? Okay.
I have
yeah, go for it, Ann.
quick random question. What is your process for Schema? Because I noticed in that result you had the ratings. Is that that's not the book ratings, that's from your Google business page?
No, that is Schema that I put on that post. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll show you what that looks like real quickly. And I don't have a super like complex process for doing that. It's actually really easy. So I'll show you real quickly. So this is just what I do on my site. So obviously I use WordPress, I use generate blocks, all that stuff. Okay. So what I do when it's a review-based asset, so like for this one, we'll look at like a detailed Chrome extension review. We'll see if it pops up. Okay, yeah, so it does pop up. So what I did for this one is I go into elements, and this, once again, this is a generate press specific type of thing, okay? And you can probably replicate this with the WordPress plugin, like as long as you have that ability to basically add a snippet to only one page. So that's the key. You want to be able to add this to only one page. So you'll see here, the way that I do it is I mark it as Schema, just so I can, you know, kind of track it better. And then what it is, when you go in here, I paste it in here. And all of this, I literally just use ChatGPT to create it for me. So I go into ChatGPT and I say, I need to create a product review schema for a review I did about the detailed SEO extension, right? And then it will produce kind of like the framework. And then usually what you'll have to do is kind of go through here and kind of like, you know, add a little description in here and a little bit of stuff, make sure it's the right person and all of that. But once it's done, then you just need to add the rating. 1 to 5 is the proper rating system that you need to use. I see sometimes people do out of 10, but like Google only shows 5. So you just use what Google typically shows. And then once that's done, the cool thing about elements is you go to these display rules and you can pick where to show this schema to pop up. So in this case, it will only show on this one post. And that's the key. Like I see this is very prominent on the local level. People have like product review schema on every single page. And that's like, you can get penalized for schema manipulation. Like that is actually a thing. So yeah, that's the way that I do it. Yeah, nothing super complex. And then you can also test it if you wanted to. You can go into here and make sure you have this extension. Let's see here, the schema builder one here. And then you can see that it's functioning correctly. So you basically want to see that like under product right here, if you go to view markup, you can see that it's working the right way. So that's what I do to cross check it to make sure it's working. So you can also, there's also one other schema tool you can use. You could like manually put in the schema in there and see if it works. I think it's actually from schema.org, but this is actually the schema.org extension. So it's doing what you need it to do. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. I know these calls are being recorded. How do we get a copy of this? Because I'm going to have to go back and watch this and pause and,
Right.
and implement.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's a good question. We haven't quite thought about that yet. So
Okay.
yeah, we're trying to figure out like where this would go inside of Rankability. So open to any suggestions, but I mean, maybe it might be similar to how we do it on Gotcha SEO Academy, where like we put it under the help section and have like previous Rankability Mastermind recordings, something like that. Would that be fine?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a great idea. I've been on the fence of like, should we show the recording? Should we not? Like, I don't know. So, but I think if that's enough evidence for me to see that we definitely need it if you want to go back and review. So, yeah.
I like that that process, but I'm gonna have to rewatch and pause as I go. So,
sure. Yeah. Sorry if I moved a little fast there.
No. I
yeah.
just like what I'm just I won't be able to remember when I actually have to do it. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions for me, Ann?
No, this is great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay. Let me show you guys a couple things here real quickly. This is more of like higher level kind of thinking. And I just wanted to show you. So obviously, we can talk about features all day, but at the end of the day, like you can actually use this tool to make you more money. Yes, you can use it to optimize for your keywords and do SEO. And of course, doing better SEO equates to more money. But there's a lot of other things we can do to leverage this tool. Okay, so I want to show you a couple things. And by the way, these may not all apply to your situation, but at least you'll have it in your back pocket if you ever want to use it. Okay. So number one, the most obvious point of all is if we can rank well, we can get obviously more traffic and more leads and more sales without advertising, right? And that leads to more profit. Okay, so that's the most obvious point. And the thing is, you can do this for your clients, but most importantly, doing it for your own business. And I notice a lot of the time people will have like so many SEO clients, and then I go and look at their website and they're not even doing SEO on their own website. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you should be doing SEO for your own business too, to grow it. And in fact, when I first launched my business, almost all of my leads came from SEO. Like when I launched my agency, all I would do is I actually started ranking for, those geo-targeted pages like St. Louis SEO, Santa Monica SEO, Glendale SEO, like all these different localized pages. And that started to bring in leads and traffic into my business. And then I started, ranking for more kind of broader keywords. But SEO was like literally 90% of my revenue source at that point, from Google specifically. So don't forget to do SEO on your own business if you're working with clients. Like, yes, do it for your clients, get them great results, because if you get them great results, you increase retention, and retention is critical. It's the most important thing when it comes to a business. Like, retention is way more important than acquisition, because it costs way more money to acquire a new customer than it is to keep an existing one. Like, this is just a fact across all business models. Okay, so this is number one. Now, this one here there's a lot of opportunity on this front. Okay, so if you're trying to I know we talked a little bit about like doing cold outreach and warm outreach. So there's two ways you can leverage this. So when you go and let's say you build out a prospecting list of a certain niche that you want to go after. Like, you're going to go after dentists in Creve Coeur. Okay, Jacob will like this one. So dentists in Creve Coeur. And you want to go after them, you're going to build a whole prospecting list of them. Well, what I would do is obviously start to look for points of leverage, but the biggest point of leverage is to take their most important keyword, slap it into Rankability and say, hey, Dr. Joe, just want to let you know, like, your competitors are optimized this way, and I want to let you know your content we've got some room to improve. And you can literally send them the share link to show them, like, with their own eyes, they can see it. You could also just take a screenshot. But the point is, you can use this data to your advantage as a point of leverage. Okay. And everyone understands red, right? And this is why on Rankability, we've intentionally made certain things red and certain things green. And funny thing is, I'll actually show you guys, this is just like how nuanced some of this is. But if you look at, like, under the domain score on this, okay, this used to be, if the domain score was high, like meaning it's really powerful, we used to have it as green. But then we look at it, it's like, why would we want this to be green? It should be red, because there's zero chance you're going to be able to rank for this. So we changed it, and I'll show you, like, actually, this would be a good one here, best webinar software. Like, now the further this domain score goes up, the redder it gets, because we don't want you to think that, oh, okay, they've all got weak rankability scores, therefore I have a chance to rank. Well, that doesn't tell the whole picture, right? It doesn't tell the full story. So this is just an example of, like, how you can take advantage of using this data. And especially when it comes to the optimizer, this is why even in the optimizer, like, the rankability score, as you go up, obviously the colors get nicer as we go up the ladder. So that's kind of the point, is we can use this in our sales prospecting as well as a point of leverage. Okay. Now the other thing is, what you can do is, and this is actually be really important once the ranking diagnosis is done, but you can use a lot of this data just in your proposals. So when you're crafting a proposal, one of the best things to do is, this is what I've done. I've taught this in the training as well, which is identify 3 to 5 action items that will go into the proposal. So you basically say, like, usually my cadence is, first I'll unload on them with results. Like, here's how we got results for this one and this one. I just keep hammering them in the beginning because I'm building up a lot of trust and authority. And then I get into the next section of the proposal, which is, all right, so here's, we did a real quick audit on your website, and we identified, about 3 to 5 high value actions. So even if you decide not to work with us, you're still going to be able to, take advantage of these and, be able to get some results, right? So I'm basically, this is reciprocity 101, right? You're giving results in advance, and naturally they're like, okay, they know what they're doing as well. So there's just a lot of kind of underlying psychology. But the point is, when you can actually show screenshots of specific situations where they're not optimized. So I'll typically go and I could pick like 3, and I'll purposely pick like 3 pages that I know are really important to them. So I'll pick the ones that, like, I know I can really turn the knife on the most, and I'll show them, like, okay, this is you guys and this is your competitor. And then I just keep doing that back and forth. This is you guys, this is your competitor. This is you guys, this is your competitor. And I just show the compare and contrast. And I'm doing that with rankability, right? I'm showing them just where they're currently at versus where they should be, which is typically their top competitor is usually much more optimized than them, right? Very rarely you'll have a client where, like, they're really killing it with SEO. In that situation, then of course I'm not going to look at the stuff they're doing well. I'm going to look at the stuff they're not doing well, and I'm going to tap into that. Okay. So just another way to kind of use this in your proposals. And I just use screenshots in this case. So I'll take a screenshot, put it into my Canva proposal, and just show kind of like, this is where you are, this is where we want to be. And then just kind of do that multiple times. Okay. And then the other one here, this is also a very unique one, which is, if you're finding yourself struggling to close full service, it's worth testing closing smaller productized services on the front end and then leading to full service on the back end. Okay. And I've done this a lot of the time where it just felt like a better fit to sell them on like an audit or sell them on some sort of smaller productized service that's kind of just a one-time investment to get them in the door. And so you can use this absolutely with Rankability. Like, you could literally sell, like, okay, just to show you how good we are at this, we can create 10 SEO content briefs for 10 of your most important keywords, right? And you could literally build out the briefs. You get it fully set up in the optimizers, fully mapped out for them. And then you could either share that with share the rankability link, or you could just transfer that over to a Google Doc and say, here's the brief that we did. Now, with this technology, we know we can just click a button and do that. But this is an opportunity where you can actually get them in the door. And I've had this countless times where when you're just purely competing for like proposal for proposal, and you're competing against a bunch of people that just do the same exact thing, which is discovery call, proposal, discovery call, proposal. That's all they do. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, I actually don't want to do a proposal. What we want to do is actually do an audit up front to make sure that like, we can get everything squared away and make sure we can plan out and kind of look under the hood and see what's really going on with your campaign before we commit to a long-term engagement, right? That shows that you actually, you really care about their situation a lot more. Now, I'm not saying you should do that in every scenario, but there's a lot of scenarios where it works. Okay. So just have this in your back pocket. You can leverage this as well with Rankability. There's a variety of productized services that you can sell. You could even sell like, hey, we'll optimize 10 of your service pages. Like just do a batch. We're going to do a quick sprint. We're just going to optimize 10 of your service pages. You use Rankability to do it. You optimize them. They're happy. And they say, okay, well, what's next? And say, well, yeah, optimizing for on-page SEO and the content, that's kind of, that's a big piece of the pie. That's 25, 30% of the pie. But yeah, we do need to build out more topic authority. Yeah, we do need to do internal linking. Yes, we do need to acquire links, right? So now it's a natural progression into the full service. So, just make sure you have this on, available to use when you need it. Okay. This is another one where like I said, these aren't going to be relevant to you guys, but just, that this is possible. You can create even a productized type of service. And, you could literally create a keyword research agency. You could create an agency that just creates SEO content briefs. You wouldn't believe how many SaaS companies and big technology companies, they literally just want content briefs. It's the weirdest thing. They don't even want like SEO help. They just, no, we just want you to create content briefs. So there's a lot of demand for that, believe it or not. I've had people approach me before and they're like, we need you to create 200 SEO content briefs a month. And I'm like, I don't know if that's something I really want to do. This is prior to Rankability, by the way. This is like when I had to do it manually. So I was like, I'm going to pass on this one. So, but there is demand for that. There's absolutely demand for on-page SEO, which is clearly in the wheelhouse, and then obviously SEO content creation. So there's a lot of, I would say out of all of these, like this is the most competitive, like pure SEO content creation is very saturated. But keyword research, content briefs, on-page SEO, it's pretty blue ocean for the most part for quality work. And now this one is, something that no one, oh yeah, go for it. Ann.
Yeah,
sorry.
Quick question. What would you charge for a content brief?
That is a great question. I think it depends on the quantity that we were doing as far as the package. So I'd have to kind of map out what that would be. I would say probably anywhere between 75 to 150 per, right? I'd say in that range is probably pretty appropriate for the most part. And then as the scale goes up, as the volume goes up, that could decrease, right? So if they were order 100, yeah, I might decrease that down to 50 per brief or something, right? So, but yeah, you'd have to play around with it because it will depend on the volume and also the complexity of the brief as well, right? Like if they're trying to rank for something like insanely difficult, they're gonna be like, okay, well, it's going to require more research. It's going to require more, like, there's just more that goes into it. But they're trying to rank for like Plummer, Chesterfield, Missouri. I'm be like, okay, it's going to be very difficult. So yeah, I think that in that range of like probably 75 to maybe as high as 250 per, depending on the complexity of that brief. So yeah. Okay. Now this is a fun one. It's having fun now with the NLP, but this is, I think I was talking about this a little bit yesterday on the GSA coaching call, but YouTube in particular is a very unique animal because, like I said, it can't watch videos. Right? They can't just like watch everyone's videos and then figure out where they should go on the platform. So what it does is at literally the most mind-numbing speed, they can analyze these videos by just scanning the transcripts. And they are literally using NLP to understand these videos. Now Google's actually calling it NLU, so natural language understanding, but it's still the same concept. And it's basically just AI that is able to look at content, understand what it is. It's basically the ability for a machine to understand what that content's about, so that then it can serve up that content to a relevant audience on that platform. And YouTube's number one objective is to get the most relevant video in front of you and give you a video that it knows you're going to be interested in. Because if it doesn't do that well, then you're not going to stay on YouTube. So its number one objective is to keep it highly relevant and really try to serve up something that it knows you have a high probability of clicking on. So, and that's what it's literally designed to do. So what you can do is, let's say you wanted to do a video, let's say like on-page SEO for electricians, right? You could do that. You could even just let's say you just want to do on-page SEO. Well, you would just literally run like you would normally a content optimizer, and then just write the script inside of the optimizer and then record the video based on the script. And what you've done is you've created a highly, highly relevant video that will likely perform very well on YouTube. And this like, I do this naturally because all I do is talk about SEO. So like I just talk about SEO in every video. So naturally I've got a lot of this kind of built in naturally, but in other industries, you can apply the same concept. Just remember, this is a game of relevance, and that's really all that NLP does, is just it allows us to create highly relevant content, whether that's blog posts or YouTube or Twitter content. Like, you could technically do a long form piece of Twitter content targeting a certain concept, and it would be distributed on the platform in a similar way, because once again, Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok, they're all using the same type of NLP or NLU technology to understand what everything's about, right? Now they're using other things as well. They're using user engagement and user signals on top, like layered on top of that. But at its kind of core in the beginning, when there are no available user signals, that's what it has to do. It has to rely on like, okay, what is this about? Even on TikTok, like TikTok it can't rely on like likes and shares and saves until a brand, like what does it do with a brand new piece of content? Like, it has to understand it in a different way. It can't rely on user signals. So user signals are always a secondary metric that they use to determine if this should be pushed out to more people. And this is what happens on YouTube as well. Like, when you publish a YouTube video initially, it's just the algorithm is looking at the video and trying to determine relevance. Then it puts it into a small test group for typically people that are highly engaged with your channel, right? So it'll take a little subset of that group. It'll say, hey, here's this new video. Then based on what those people do with that video, they start liking it, they start sharing it, they start watching it for a long time. Then it says, okay, it looks like something good is going on here. Let's give it to a broader group, right? And then it measures it again. And then it happens again. It keeps doing that over and over. And then eventually, it may go viral if you continue to the next level. But it's kind of this like layered approach that occurs. But before all that happens, it all begins with the algorithm just understanding what the heck that thing is even about. And that always just begins with the content. So not to get super geeky with this, but no one talks about this. Like, literally no one talks about this, and is absolutely, well, if you do this, you will see an effect. Okay. And then the other thing too is that if you watch any of my videos, and not to toot my own horn here, but I do this a lot. And in fact, I've made a lot of other software companies ungodly amounts of money. Like, I've made them so much money, it's not even funny. Like Ahrefs, SEMrush, like all these tools that I promote on a consistent basis, we're talking millions and millions of views that their software has received from my content. And the reason why is because I use the tools just in a demonstrative way, right? The tools are just a vehicle to get a particular outcome. And it's not the car, it's the driver, right? And at the end of the day, the tool is just a car. Like it's not like just by itself, it just sits there. It doesn't do anything. So you need to have it built into a process. And so the reason I'm saying that is if you're trying to get clients on YouTube, the best thing to do is just do demonstration. That's my favorite technique for acquiring clients is you just take whatever market you want to go after. Let's say it's dentists. Okay. Well, your video would be, SEO for dentists or SEO for family dentists or SEO for cosmetic dentists. And naturally, first of all, going back to the previous one, you could build out that script, the NLP, optimize that video properly. And then in the video, all you're doing is literally just saying, okay, I picked this random dentist in Creve Coeur, and I'm going to show you what I would do to improve their performance to get them better SEO results. And here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. And in that process, one of those steps is like, okay, so I took 3 of his most important keywords and I put it through this tool Rankability, and here's his rankability score versus his competitors. Just using data to your advantage. And this is why like having the tools to be able to demonstrate is really important, because you can actually quantifiably show them like, okay, these are the things that are wrong. Like they need to be resolved. So this is like, I've created a lot of different types of content on YouTube, and funny thing is the videos that get lower views but higher conversions are the videos where it's just like, here's a keyword I'm going to show you how to rank for. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, here's how to rank for this keyword. And it's like, it's not even my client. Like, it just literally made up. I just picked someone off at random. And as a side note, I don't recommend ever using an actual client. So never actually use and I know it might be like obvious, but never use an actual client for so many reasons. Okay. There's like, I could list 100 reasons why you shouldn't do it. And I see guys do this all the time. Like, no, don't do that. Because if like, let's say Google had a vendetta against you. Okay. And they didn't like some of the stuff you were saying about SEO. Well, you just left a big footprint. And now what are they going to do? They're going to go through and they're going to hit not just you, they're going to hit all of your clients. So you never ever give that footprint to Google. That's the one I'm most concerned about is Google. The other one is, unfortunately, some of our agency friends like to play some pretty nasty games. And what they will do is they will try to steal your client. So like, this is a shark. These are shark infested waters. Okay. So that's another thing. Like I've had some clients with me that are extremely loyal. They've been working with me for a really long time. And they'll literally tell me, they'll be like, hey, I just want to let you know, like Joe Schmo agency over here just sent us another email for, the 5th week in a row saying, something, right? Trying to take the client away from us. So it happens all the time. Okay. There's literally actually built into the DNA of a lot of agencies where they have a whole prospecting list. And they have it on a recurring task that every quarter they're going to follow up with that business and say, hey, Joe, just want to let you know, like this keyword, we checked last month and you're still here. And what they do is they'll cherry pick. So they'll cherry pick a keyword that they're not doing well for just to make you look bad. Right. So it's like, and it works. Like if it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. So this is why just don't show your clients. It's just not a good idea. The other thing too is the other problematic reason, not to get off on tangent here, but I've just had to tell a lot of agency people this. Not every client lasts forever. Not every campaign is forever, right? And what can happen is like you could have done the most amazing job in the world with a client. You got them great results. And then they're like, you know what? Thank you so much. This has been great, but we're just going to pause our SEO and we're going to move on. Okay. Then 6 months later, they do something stupid and they get penalized and their traffic just tanks. Well, you have this whole public case study of showing like, oh, you did such a great job. Now someone can go and take that URL, go and throw it into Ahrefs and SEMrush and say, oh, look, wow, they got penalized. So now your credibility is ruined, even though it wasn't even your fault. It was something that Either they did or the new agency did. So that's why I'm pretty like, that's why you don't see me talk about my clients. Like I never talk about clients on anything because I just know it's too dangerous. And then the other side of this, one other possibility is negative SEO. There's some nasty people out there. They might just negative SEO your client. So, that's another thing you got to be careful of. So I just wouldn't do it. To each their own. If you want to take the risk, that's go for it. But I just wouldn't be very, very careful of doing that. And the thing is, you don't even need to do it. Like you can still get clients by demonstrating with a real life example, because what you're demonstrating is that what to look for, what to focus on, strategically what needs to be improved. And that becomes very clear. And you guys are all really trained on this anyway. So anyway, just another idea. And then the most obvious one is when we have the ambassador program, 40% recurring commission for life every single month for every person you refer to Rankability, like 40% recurring. So that's another way, most obvious way to make money with Rankability. But the other ones, integrating this within your agency and your business, there's a lot of opportunities here to do that. So any questions on that?
I have a question. I'm glad you said that about not showing client sites, because I hadn't thought about that before. Would you show your own sites, or would you really just stick to like just giving recommendations for sites that are completely not affiliated to you?
I would be careful showing your own sites, just depending on what it is. So like I will show Gotcha SEO because like I just do. And I don't honestly, I don't really care about the SEO and Gotcha SEO. That's why I just like intentionally do it. Like if someone were to hit me, and I've been hit with negative SEO, I think maybe 3 or 4 times now. But it just comes with the territory. So I just do it. But I would never show a niche website. Never. No.
Okay.
Like if I was building up my own side project, there's 0% chance I'd show it, because first of all, you show it, then all the, everyone tries to jump on that niche, right? So now you just increased your competition overnight. And then number 2 is there is some malicious actors out there. And if they see that your site is successful, there's two types of people in this world. There's people that like to build buildings, and there's people that just like to burn them to the ground. And so, you have to decide what side you're on. I think most of us here are builders. So, but it's just, you got to be careful. So I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah. Okay. Now one thing you can do is you could call like your test sites, right? So you say like this is my test site. I'm really aggressive with it. I'm super out of control with it, but that's because it's one that I share publicly and whatever. Like you could do that too. Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, like I said, guys, as you use the tool, like please use it a lot and try to break it as much as possible. I'm breaking it all the time, so hopefully you guys can break it more than me. But yeah, our goal is to basically get this kind of flawless experience. So at least these little kinks can just be worked out, and then we can really just start to build out these kind of new features. But yeah, we'll keep jumping on Wednesdays, and these calls will probably keep growing, but I think in the meantime, it's kind of cool. It's small for now. So take advantage of that. All right. Okay. You guys have a good rest of the week. We'll talk soon. Thanks.